G'day folks, I'm Wren, they, them, and today we're going to talk about my goals for 2025. Alright, I'm sorry if the lighting is weird, but it's like 8 o'clock at night and I really wanted to film this today, so here we are. Now, if you saw my 2025 journal setup, you would have seen the journal spread for my goals, but I didn't fill any of the goals in because I was going to do this video. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 10 goals that I have for this year, and then we're also going to talk about 10 books that I really want to get to this year. Let's start with the goals. This is my 2025 journal. It's lovely. I had a great time setting this up, but we have the goals page. My first goal for 2025 is to try and read 4 books that are over 500 pages. I have never been a huge long book reader. I prefer short fiction around the 300 page mark. I'm very comfortable with. When it gets up to 400, I'm like, okay, I can do this. 500 and I'm like, no. Anything above that, I'm like, no. There are a few exceptions, like I read the first 2 books in the Blood and Ash series and they're both like over 600 pages and they're great. And there have been other books throughout my life that I have read that have been over the 500 page mark. But in 2024, I think I read like 1 or 2 books that were over 500 pages. I don't know, I am really in the mood to sink my teeth into some long books. And I have so many on my shelves that I just avoid because they're long, but I don't want to do that anymore. I really want to try and get to some bigger books in 2025. Goal number 2 for 2025 is to read 1 book every single month physically. This might seem, I don't know, a bit odd for some people, but I really struggle with physical reading. You know, I can read over 200 books in a year. A lot of them are audiobooks. A lot of them are manga or graphic novels. Then there's a sprinkling of ebooks, and then the lowest percentage is physical books. In my head, I'm always kind of like, if I had the audiobook of this, I could be doing something productive as well as reading. And that really, like, not got me in a rut last year, but it became too much of a habit that I didn't like. Like, I wanted to be just invested in the story and, you know, just take reading for what it is, which is a great pastime and a deep love of mine. So I really want to like take a step back and like rediscover my love of physical reading. I'm starting small with 1 book every month that is going to be physically read. And this excludes comics, manga, graphic novels, nothing like that. I want a fiction novel and I'm gonna read that physically. I hope that I can do this because I miss physical reading. Spoiler, I already completed this for January. So for goal number 3, I would really like 40% of my books each month to be books that I own. So when I'm building my TBR, like my TBR gate, I have around 7 to 10 books each month on that TBR, right? So I want 40% of that TBR to be books that are already on my shelves. I did a tally at the end of 2024. I had 353 books on my TBR, like physically owned on my shelves. That's a lot of books. And some of those books have been on there for 5 years now, and I still really want to read them, and yet, you know? So I really want to try and tackle my physical TBR in 2025, and I'm doing like a 40-60 split because I still really love utilizing my library and my Libby app, and there are a bunch of series that I'm in the middle of that I don't own, but I do want to continue those series, so I have to get them through the library, you know? I like having a bit of a balance, and 40% for me is like totally fine. I can definitely like make a big chunk in my TBR with just that 40% each month. Like, it's a good number for me. I don't think I want to go any higher. Definitely don't want to go any lower. It's a good number. So hope I can just stick to it though. Goal number 4, and that is one I have every single year, and that is to complete 10 series this year. I set this goal every year. I always feel like 10 is a good number because of the amount of books I read, and also because a lot of those are manga or comics or graphic novels, which I read through those a lot quicker, so I always feel like 10 is a decent number. So this doesn't mean that they have to be 10 series that I started before 2025. They can be ones I start in 2025, but I just have to finish them before the end of 2025, you know? I didn't actually complete this in 2024, which is very sad. I got to 9, but the audiobook for the last book in a series that I had on hold in like the end of November, it didn't come in until the first week of January, and I was like, so close. So again, spoiler, I've already completed 1 series. And I definitely do want to make some progress in the series that I have already started. By the end of 2024, I did kind of DNF a lot of the series that I had started that I was like, oh, it's just 1 more book, I'll just read that. Because I realized that I was only going to continue that series for the sake of this goal, not because I genuinely wanted to read the book. In 2025, I definitely want to, I want to prioritize this goal for sure, but I want to prioritize it for the right reasons. I want to finish 10 series that I enjoy. I do not want to complete a series just because it'll be completing a series. Goal number 5 is to read 2 anthologies. This is a very small number because I have been really struggling with anthologies the past 2 or 3 years. When I first got back into reading as an adult, I started with anthologies and short stories. I was like, reading a full-length novel was too much for me at that time, and I was like, if I can just read like tiny little bits, and that's totally fine. I could take months to read 1 book, but there's like 20 stories in it. And I was able to read full-length novels again, and then I just forgot about anthologies. But I own like 5 to 6 anthologies that I am still really keen for, but they just keep sitting on my shelves. So I would really like to at least get to 2 of them. Goal number 6 is another one I had in 2024 that I didn't get to, and that is to get to the legacy arc of Stargate Atlantis novel series. If you've been around on my channel for more than 2 seconds, you'll know I'm obsessed with Stargate Atlantis. It's my everything. I built a TBR game around it, and I have been reading the books that are kind of, I don't know, not like kind of spin-offs. They're all set in like canon. You know, each book is like, oh, this could have been an episode, you know? And so I have been reading those for the past couple of years. I think I only read 1 in 2024 and I wanted to read like 12. But there comes a point in the novel series where it stops being, oh, this could have been an episode, and then it has the legacy arc, which is, if there could have been a final season, this would have been it. And I'm so desperate to get to that. I'm like 7 to 9 books away from that. Goal number 7 is to read 4 of my already owned non-fiction. I really do enjoy non-fiction, and I have a stack. I look at them and I'm like, ooh, can't wait to read you. And yet, which is the theme of this video, is and yet. Because I keep having these books, I keep wanting to read these books, I keep not reading these books. So 2025, I want to read 4 of my non-fictions. I don't know which ones, doesn't really matter which ones, as long as I already own them and I read them. Goal number 8 is a bit of a departure from the rest of these goals, because goal number 8 is to read 1 KU book every month. But I've had a KU membership for, wait, I got it when I got my Kindle. I got my Kindle before I turned 30. I'll be 32 this year. So like a year and a half I've had KU, and like that's about $14 a month, right? I'm really trying to budget this year, so if I'm spending $14 a month on something, I want to make sure I'm using that and like getting my money's worth, right? Like $14, that's about the cost of like a new book in Australia at least, and that's cheap. That's if you go to a cheap store, not like QBD. Just at least 1 KU book every month. And it doesn't matter if the KU book is like 20 pages, that's still a KU book, you know? And I have made a like KU TBR on my Amazon of like, these are just all the books I'd really love to get to at some point. They're all available on KU. Go forth and read them at some point. Gonna be honest, most of them are monster romances. Goal number 9 is to get my NetGalley score to 50%. This might seem really low to some people. Like if you know NetGalley, it is an online ARC request website, but you can go on and request ARCs. And sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But when you get them, it's with the kind of caveat that, you know, you will read it within the allotted time and then you will review it. And every time you request one and review it, it increases your score. And the higher your score, the more likely you are to get all of these arcs. At the beginning of 2025, my number was 14%. Because every January I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna use NetGalley again. And I request like 50 books every time. And I read maybe one of them. So that my score gets lower and lower and lower. I did this in 2024 and Kirsty was there just kind of laughing at me going, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I know, I'm gonna do it anyways. And then I was like, 2025, I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna read the books that I already requested, try and get that number up. I did it again. I don't know if it was 50 that I requested, but I've already been accepted for 15. So I definitely need to work on that. I really do want to utilize this service because, you know, publishers are kind enough to let me read these books early. Like, the least I could do is follow through with this little commitment that I made, you know? And like, they're books I really want to read. Go watch my 25 queer releases coming out in 2025 because 4 of them I got accepted for an arc. So I gotta read the books, you know? And then lucky last, goal number 10 is to buy less books in 2025 than I did in 2024. I bought so many books, so many books. As like a kind of a round figure, I made my kind of goal here for less than 240 books. So that tells you just about how many books I bought in 2024. It's so much money and books. I do a lot of unhauls on this channel, right? That's not even all the unhauling I do. So much wasted money. So I really do kind of want to get a handle on this in 2025. Like, I'm not restricting myself to not buying any books. Like, that is not attainable for me at all. I'm gonna tell you now, it's like, what, nearly 2 weeks into January, I've already bought 6 books. I'm gonna be honest, I've already bought books. That's fine, like, it's okay to buy books. I just want to make it less than 240, you know? I don't think that's too much of an ask of myself. It might be. Right, so they were all of the goals that I have for 2025. Now we're gonna go into the 10 books that I really want to read in 2025. First up is one that I've already started, and that is Well Traveled by Jen DeLuca. I'm like 100 pages into this, and I have been for months. It's not that I'm not enjoying it, I really am. This is the 4th book in the Well Met series. These are kind of set in Renaissance fairs. Don't let that put you off. It put me off for a really long time, and then I read it and I friggin' loved it. These do get emotional sometimes, but like in a very realistic way, which I thoroughly enjoy. But I do love these books. It's just that I've had to read this physically, and as we know, physical reading and me don't mix. The next book I really want to read is a bit of a random one, but that is Maori Myth and Legend by A.W. Reid. This is a book that I got when I went to New Zealand for my 30th birthday, and I bought a bunch of books there, and my goal was to read all those books that I bought by, you know, my next birthday, so my 31st. That was in July of 2024. I think I've got like 2 or 3 books left to read. And this is one of them. So I'm just putting this one on my list because I keep forgetting about this because it's so small. It kind of gets hidden in my shelves. But this is literally what it says. It's Myths and Legends. The back says, the Maori have a rich and colourful tradition of myth and legend. Many of their most important and popular tales are retold in this classic book. I don't know kind of anything about any Maori myths, so this is gonna be super cool. Next up is one that I've had on my shelves for a really long time, and I feel so bad about it because it was a gift. That is Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. This was kindly gifted to me by Sasha, so thank you so much, Sasha. I really do appreciate it. I'm so sorry I haven't gotten to it yet, but I really want to. This is a queer YA story about these 2 people going to like a Comic-Con convention type thing, and stuff happens while they're there. This one girl meets like a kind of mildly famous person. They have a crush on him. Feelings might be reciprocated, who knows. One of the other characters is neurodivergent in some way. I can't remember any specific type. I think it'll be good, and it's all about fandom stuff, and I am very intrigued. I've heard amazing things about it. I know I'm not describing it well, but when do I ever? Ooh, okay, this next one has also been on lists many times. Many times. And that is Clanland's Almanac by Graham McTavish and Sam Heughan. Yeah, so this is a non-fiction by these two actors. They're both Scottish. They were both on Outlander and they really got along while they were filming that. And then they went on a road trip together around Scotland, looking into the history, looking into the whiskey, because they are whiskey guys. They did that. They filmed a TV show with it, Men in Kilts. Amazing. I love that show so much. And then they wrote a book kind of to go along with that TV show. And then this is the second book that they brought out. So I already read Clanlands. It was amazing. This is the second one. Kind of follows on like in the same kind of vein, talking about Scottish history and whiskey and all the fun times. But I haven't read it yet. And I really want to because I had so much fun with the first book. And I think there's like a third one now. And like they're going to New Zealand to do another TV show. Like I need to read this. Next up is It Looks Like Us by Alison Ames. This is a queer YA where it's like survivalism stuff, which I love. And it's about like these, there's like a research thing. Yeah, a research trip to Antarctica sponsored by a billionaire, 5 teenagers apparently. Things in this like research station become weird. There is people trying to kill people and it's weird. It sounds like my vibe so much. And like, look at that cover. Do you see all like the little people coming out of the smoke? Oh, so freaking cool. And there's like a, it's like a skull or something in there. Oh, so cool. Next up is one that I started, but then I stopped because I was having issues, not with the book, but with myself. And I just haven't gotten back to it, even though I know I'm gonna love it. People tell me that I'm gonna love it. 16 Souls by Rosie Talbot. This is very much my vibe. It is queer, it is paranormal, it's set in York, which is super cool. There is like ghosts and someone who can see ghosts. That is my vibe. I remember like I read the first like 30-ish pages, like the first 2 chapters, and I really loved it. I was so intrigued by the way that this person who could see ghosts was interacting with the ghosts, or like not interacting with them. Very intriguing. I think I'll love it. Next up is I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. I've had this on my shelves for at least 5 to 6 years now. I have wanted to read it for so long. It sounds like it's gonna be amazing. It's about this teenager who like works as a mortician. He's a sociopath, but he is not a serial killer. But there are some serial killers in his town, and I think he's trying to find them and prove that it's not him. But that sounds very interesting. I love anything to do with serial killers. I know, I'm weird. That's fine. Next up is one that I'm just obsessed with this cover. That is The Gates by John Connolly. This cover. Is that not super cool and exactly my vibe? Yeah, it is. This is literally about some kid like living next door to the gates of hell or something. Yeah, Sam's neighbor is trying to open the gates of hell and Sam's gonna stop them. Now the fate of humanity lies in the hands of one small boy, an even smaller dog, and a very unlucky demon named Nerd. That sounds fun. Next up is one that I got in Scotland when I went there in January of 2024, and that is The Green Man of Eschwood Hall by Jacob Kerr. Again, cover. Stunning. One of my buzzwords is Green Man. I love anything to do with a Green Man. I just love the mythology of the Green Man. It's so good. So of course I had to buy this. It's set in 1962, and this 13-year-old can see someone looking into her window, and she's like, what the hell? Turns out to be the Green Man, but this Green Man seems to know everything about her, which kind of terrifying, but kind of interesting. And then the last one that I really want to read in 2025 is again one that I have been meaning to read for years. That's Levius by Haruhisha Nakata. This is a manga. I first heard about this from Gemma from The Creepy Geek. It sounded like my kind of thing so much because it's about gladiators. And like gladiators are my special interest, they're one of my buzzwords, so I want to read this. As society rises from the ashes of war, cybernetically augmented arena fighters battle for fame and fortune or die trying. That sounds so good. But I remember this. Oh, this stunning. Oh my god. I just kind of wanted everything to be in color because that was stunning. Like, look at that. Look at that. It's so pretty. Ugh, I would get that tattooed on me, in all honesty. This should be really good. I am interested in reading it. I think it'll be good. I'm just intimidated by the size. So that is going to be it for my goals for 2025. The sun is nearly set, so definitely time to wrap this up. If you can help at all with my goals or with my books, please let me know, because I need to do these things. I would really like to do these things, but I think I need a little bit of help. And what are some of the books that you are really wanting to read in 2025? I would love to know. It's probably going to make my TBR bigger, but that's fine. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.